What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/, All Steelers Talk, or subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. I know it is Saturday. This is an extra show for us this week, but the NFL draft is 2 days in. The Pittsburgh Steelers are red hot right now. There is everything and anything to talk about, and we're going to dive into everything that has happened the last 2 days and what we expect to happen before the end of today. Steven, it's been, I'm going to say a long 2 days, long 2 nights for us. One and done here today on Saturday. How you feeling? What's your thoughts on the Steelers draft?
I'm feeling good actually. I mean, it's been a long draft, but I will say
Yeah.
this one has been much more exciting, I think, than the first NFL draft that I covered.
Yes.
It was cool for them to get Broderick and get Joey Porter and everything like that, but all the trades, and all the I mean, like also I think the quality of the draft class is really really high. Just like I
Yeah.
think they hit on two guys that I didn't think they had any chance of landing. So really excited about the draft class. I think they address two massive needs. They got two guys above who were more valuable than the positions that they drafted them at. So I don't think there's really anything to complain about with the Steelers draft class so far.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, you go into night one and you get Troy Fatanu, and everybody's like, oh my, that's what a steal. Can't believe he fell to 20. I don't think many of us did believe he would go to 20, but then even the second round, like the guts to sit there after Jackson Powers Johnson went off the board to Vegas. We were all talking, all right, here it goes. Here's the trade up. Are they going wide receiver? Is it going to be AD Mitchell? Are they going to settle here? They held strong. They knew exactly where they were going to go get Zach Frazier at 51. After, I mean, weeks, people were talking about this guy might be a first round pick. There's no way this guy falls out of the top 50 picks. And then even after the top two centers go, you start to think maybe there's some reality there. And they just stick around and they go and get him. Zach Frazier was a steal to me. And then, just like you said, like Roman Wilson, Payton Wilson, too many Wilsons, but
Yes.
two guys that have a ton of upside who could come in here and contribute immediately in whatever role the Steelers see fit. And honestly, like guys that, I mean, all potentially should have gone before they were drafted, which I think is the biggest thing here is the Steelers did not settle in any round. Instead, every single pick you could kind of look at and say, there was a pretty good chance a month ago that that guy wasn't going in the third round or in the second round. Here we are, the Steelers grab them. Yesterday, who were you most impressed with? Who's your, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it type of guy? Because I know you
For
were
the
big on
Steel
Roman Wilson.
for the
Yeah,
Steelers,
for the
or
Steelers.
yeah, I mean, I think Roman Wilson was the one that I was most stunned by. I mean, I thought that was a surefire second round talent. I assumed that he just wasn't going to be in the Steelers' range. So the fact that
Yeah.
he fell all the way to 84, I think is pretty astounding. I really kind of can't believe that at all. I mean, Roman Wilson, I feel like is a ready made pro right now. So the idea that he's falling into a later round like that was pretty insane to me. And I don't think at any point in his career at Michigan, I mean this year at Michigan and in this draft process especially, I don't remember hearing a bad thing about Roman Wilson. Like I don't know what the knock on him is that you didn't know back at the Senior Bowl or anything like that. Like yeah, he's still 5'11. He's still, not a tremendous blocker. Like, but
Yeah.
man, he can catch the football. He can run routes. I mean, those videos going around of his reps against Quinion Mitchell at the Senior Bowl, I think really sealed the deal for me. If there was any doubt still in my mind that this was the right pick for the Steelers at that spot, it was completely gone after, remembering the way that he worked against Quinion Mitchell and was able to prove that okay, like, yeah, I'm a little undersized, but I play well above my size, and I can compete with literally the best corner in this draft.
Yeah, and I think that everybody talking about, oh, well, he's only a slot guy at the Steelers. He doesn't fit the positional need. I think he's got outside versatility. I also think that the Steelers are going to utilize their slot way more than they utilize any other position. I also, at the same time, think it's a lot easier to go get a veteran, whatever, whether it's through a trade after the NFL draft or however you want to handle that, to play the outside than it is to play the inside. And I know everybody's going to talk, oh, well, Tyler Boyd. I don't think Tyler Boyd's a real conversation here at this point. I think that that's the perfect fit. And I loved talking to him yesterday. Like I loved Arthur Smith talking about how, how well he does in the run game and how physical of a football player he is. And then him on the conference call yesterday talking about, yeah, man, if you tell me to go out there and kick somebody's ass, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to kick somebody's ass. And like that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for. Gritty football players. That's like the thing here. That was the theme of day two, I think. Really the theme of day one, too, but they followed through. Like you get Troy Fatanu, you're clearly identifying, okay, let's finish off this offense the way that we see it fit. And then you go into day two and you continue to do it. And like the Steelers for years did not have an identity. We talked I mean, I got so sick of asking what is your identity on offense for years with Matt Canada here. Arthur Smith comes in here. They clearly define what the identity is, and they go out and they 100% do it. They say, all right, we want guys who are going to come in here. They're going to be gritty, mean, tough football players who are going to crawl off the field after they break their leg, and they're going to kick somebody's ass in the run game. And that's the offense we're going to build. And I think that that's exactly what they did. I mean, I was stunned with both of them. I don't know if Roman or even Frazier. I mean, both of them are my favorites. I think both of them are phenomenal guys. Both of them are day one starters. Then there's Payton Wilson, who, I mean, some people were higher on. There's all that stuff going on about he doesn't have an ACL. He's got injury concerns. Look, we'll figure that out as time goes, I guess, how long he could last in the NFL with everything going on. But he's played the last 2 seasons straight and had 150 tackles, I believe, last season, maybe the last 2 seasons. The guy's got 48 tackles for loss, 15 sacks, 7 interceptions. He runs a 4.4. In the third round, I feel like I'm good taking a shot on a guy like that, especially in a position of need.
Right, with a pick that you weren't supposed to have. I think that's the thing I mean, Wilson, I think, was the pick. I mean, kind of unsurprisingly, he was their last pick. So he was
Yeah,
the one pick that I was kind of like, this one doesn't necessarily excite me a ton. But I think he's kind of a lottery pick at pick 98 overall. I think there's a chance that he could be a starter eventually. I think that speed and that athleticism, that kind of sideline to sideline ability, the sure tackling that he has,
yeah,
really makes him attractive. So I think like even at their worst, even at their quote unquote worst pick, the Steelers still got great value. They got a guy who they can afford to take a flyer on, since you've got 2 third-round picks like that, and they're still, I mean, just looking at the board is still, like, loaded, like, everything that
crazy.
they need, they can still address with the rest of these picks and feel pretty confident about where they are with those guys.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild how the board has shaken out for them. Like this is a draft that on Friday we were talking about, you might have to trade up. Like once you get into that third round, it falls off a cliff at 80. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it shook out this way, but there are still so many big names here in the fourth round that the Steelers can go out. I just think that to get an opportunity, and that they highlights to go full circle, it highlights Peyton Wilson, because you shouldn't have had an opportunity at Peyton Wilson. You shouldn't have even had a shot in the third round, let alone the end of the third round, to go out and get an inside linebacker. And who cares? Like at that point, it's the same thing with Darnell Washington a year ago. Like if you're going to go out here and talk about, oh, well, he's got medical concerns. You don't know how long he's going to last in the NFL. How long is he going to hold up? I get that. And if that's your first round pick, that's a concern. If that's your second round pick, that's a concern. If that's the fourth pick in your draft class, that is worth a risk, because no matter who you take at the bottom of the third round, you're taking a risk on that player. And I think to have a guy like Peyton Wilson who has starter upside, and like Daniel Jeremiah was talking about, oh, this guy's going to be an all pro one day. If that's the type of upside that this guy contains, then I mean, who cares that he's not walking around with no ACL? I mean, we had this in the chat. Shout out Jordan, Hines Ward, Greg Lloyd. Neither of them had ACLs. I didn't know about Greg Lloyd. I knew about Hines Ward. I mean, Juwan Blair, no ACLs his entire career. I don't know how it happens. I couldn't tell you. I didn't have an ACL in one of my knees for about 3 months. It was the worst 3 months of my life. So I don't know. All the best to him, but I think a steal there in the third.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument that none of these 4 players that they picked were, quote unquote supposed to be there for
No.
them uh at any of these slots. It's kind of unbelievable. I mean, I think we're sitting there in the media room at the Steelers facility and just thinking, oh, well, this guy's going to get picked up. So we got to, I think we kept
Hmm.
turning our eyes further and further down the board because we thought
Yep.
these guys these guys weren't supposed to be available in these spots. So surely they're going to picked up the further they keep falling. And no one did. I think Frazier, it was the most dramatic, I think, though, is
Yes.
just
Oh gosh, yeah.
when the Panthers traded up, I forget what pick they got, but I think they traded up to maybe one spot before the Steelers, maybe two
I
or
think it was
something.
like I think it was a little before that. I think it was like 4 or 5 because I think it was time enough where because I remember looking at you and I think something came out of my mouth like, all right, let's start writing this guy instead because Frazier's gone. And then they took the running back and you're gone. Okay.
Yeah. They
That
were
was
5
that was
they were 5 picks ahead. They traded up to 46. I forget who they traded with. But yeah, once the Panthers did that, I was like, "Oh no, they're done." And then they didn't. And so you just kept going down the list and then you're like, "Oh,
yep.
you're crossing off the list of teams that needed a center and they just kept dropping off the board and you're like, "Oh man, this is actually going to happen." Um
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I got greedy and thought, okay, now they can trade up for AD Mitchell, and immediately the Colts, I think, ran to the podium to put that pick in right after Frazier.
Yeah, Chris Ballard or whatever his name is was he had that speech ready to go like
Yeah.
before the Steelers even picked. He was like, "All right, they're going Frazier. Let's go. I'm ready to curse." I mean, it was the Frazier one was dramatic. Roman Wilson even there. I think the craziest part about Roman Wilson is you're thinking, well, Troy Franklin's still on the board, Luke McCaffrey's still on the board.
Right.
All these guys are still available. If the Steelers want to take a flyer on somebody, they got options here at wide receiver. It literally shook out as crazy as possible. Before we dive into what comes next in day 3, I want to talk about what your expectations are for these guys in year 1. First off, do you expect I think Peyton Wilson is kind of like an outlier here, but Zach Frazier, Roman Wilson, I mean, starters in 2024. Is that your immediate expectation?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Frazier, obviously, because they don't have anyone else.
Yeah.
So it's almost just out of necessity and just it doesn't even have anything to do with Frazier. I think as soon as they drafted a center, he was going to be the starter. But I think Wilson too. I mean, I think he gives you higher upside than Quez Watkins and Van Jefferson. And those are really your only other options outside of Calvin Austin. I think it'll be interesting where they play him. I agree. I think he's better on the outside than I think people give him credit for,
Yeah.
and has more of an ability to play out there than people give him credit for. So, if the draft ended here, I wouldn't be shocked to see, a receiver lineup that has Pickens, Calvin Austin in the slot, or probably Quez Watkins, if I'd have to assume, and then Roman Wilson on the outside. I still don't feel great about that receivers core, but there's work to do and more guys to pick up. So I think the Steelers are at a good spot right now. I think they've got 3 guys from this draft who will be starters in week 1 this season.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it'll be all 3 of them. I think Troy Fatano will start at the left side. I think Frazier's starting at center. If Frazier doesn't start at center, like Nate Herbig's got to be like a generational talent. This guy's like, I don't understand how teams have ignored that Nate Herbig should not be playing center his entire career. I 100% see Zach Frazier. I'm so excited to see Zach Frazier start. Like Troy Fatano is going to be awesome. I think the expectations is he's going to be awesome. Just to have somebody in the middle with Najee Harris running behind him is just exciting. Like that's just to me, I'm like, that's hard. That's Pittsburgh Steelers football right now. Right there is somebody who's going to come in here and just be a brutal human being in the middle of an offensive line. Like that's football. That's exciting. Roman Wilson, I expect the same. I agree. I think right now the way it looks is Calvin Austin, Quez Watkins working in the middle, Van Jefferson kind of being a everywhere kind of guy, Roman Wilson and George Pickens on the outside. I could see them going back to a wide receiver here and maybe kind of fill in the gap there. I could see Calvin Austin working a little bit on the outside. That guy's good on the outside. Do not sleep on how big of a small wide receiver Calvin Austin could be. So I think that's a possibility. And then Peyton Wilson, I mean, I don't know what Cole Holcomb's timeline is. The Steelers don't know what Cole Holcomb's timeline is. As of right now, I do not expect him to be ready for training camp. So I look at Peyton Wilson as a prime opportunity to be that third inside linebacker for the Steelers. And I don't know what you're getting out of him in year 1, but if he's even slightly productive, You know, you just got a guy that once Cole Holcomb is ready, you have 4 inside linebackers that you feel pretty comfortable with, which is incredible compared to, you know, Michael Walker and Miles Jack at the end of last season with Mark Robinson coming off the bench.
Yeah, we just got to make sure they all stay healthy for a
Yeah.
full
Yes.
season.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the thing. This is not that the Steelers didn't have inside linebackers last year. They were just all hurt for the entire season. It was a pretty rough. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
It was a pretty wild adventure going through the Steelers inside linebacker room last year.
Yeah. It was, I don't want to say it was a good time. It was a brutal time, but I think Peyton Wilson, I mean,
Yeah.
for everybody saying, oh, well, they already have 3 inside linebackers and Mark Robinson, I think last year proved you could never have enough inside linebackers
Well,
ever.
also, like, how long are we riding out Mark Robinson for?
No, we're
Like
done with the Mark Robinson trade. Good
we are
special
getting
teamer.
Yeah, we are getting very far away from this guy has some potential that we can maybe tap into. I mean, after this is going to be year 3, right?
This is year
Or is
3.
it year 3? Yeah, this
I
is
believe
year
it's year
3.
3.
So, yeah, Mark Robinson, it's real put up or shut up time for him. If he even still has really an opportunity. Honestly, it seems like, picking on an inside linebacker this high, because there were still guys on the board. Picking an inside linebacker this high kind of means to me that I think they're thinking the same thing. They're kind of moving on a little bit.
So I just got a text. It's crazy, crazy timing that I just got this text. I just got this text from one somebody I know, but I would say a buddy of mine who is one of the smartest draft college football experts I've ever met. You know, I'm not going to toss out a name, but if I toss out a name, everybody here would know who that is. This is what the text said. Dude, Steelers got an absolute steal in Peyton Wilson. At the bottom of the 3rd round, exclamation point, question mark. I can't believe he was still available then. One of the best steals in the draft, in my opinion. That just literally just got that text. That's a big upside for a guy that, I mean, I just think what they did here is crazy. It's crazy to come away with the haul that they came away with in 2 days. But I agree with you. Mark Robinson is not, he's cool, good special
Yeah.
teamer. You need special teamers. All right, let's talk day 3. What do you expect to happen? What do you think's going on here?
I don't know. I can't take my eyes off of Troy Franklin, quite honestly. I think it'd be real aggressive to double dip this early in the 4th round for another wide receiver. But man, like Troy Franklin should not be here, man. He should not be still available at this point in the draft. And I know they still, you still need a corner and everything like that. And I know TJ Tampa's still on the board and he's still not supposed to be there either. But honestly, I think you look at TJ Tampa, he's probably getting snatched up early in the 4th round, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah.
And it's a long wait to the next kind of comparable corner,
Yes.
There might not be another comparable corner in this draft. Or available in the 4th round. I mean, after that, it's like Kyrie Jackson. I think Chris Abrams-Drain may still be available, but those seem like picks that you can make. I don't know. You can move up in the 5th round if you need them. You can use one of those 6 rounders to get yourself moving up or something like that. So, I think the corner class is still pretty deep, and I think I think they'd be better off. They'd get better, value for a certain pick if they waited a little bit on corner. I think
Yeah.
you got to take a chance and go for Troy Franklin, get an outside guy, a bona fide outside guy, so you can stick Roman Wilson in the slot. I think Troy Franklin's too good to pass up here if he's there.
Look at I love Trey Franklin. I want to talk about that. I got another text here that I feel like is very the timing is just crazy. He continues. He sent me another text. He said, covered Peyton Wilson in high school, watched him play. I'm not going to mention the school's name because it's going to give things away more than once. Can confirm he's a special player with high level combination of size, speed, and power, and he's freakishly athletic for his size. A perfect Steelers linebacker and a total steal. That was the second text. I'm getting more excited about Peyton Wilson by the minute here. Like I'm about to make a phone call after this podcast. And I bet I'm about to, if anybody's interested, I'm about to put up the biggest hype piece of Peyton Wilson ever on allsteelers.com in about an hour and a half. So just keep an eye out. Troy Franklin, excuse me. I think is also my guy. Like, I don't think he makes it. The problem here is that the Steelers don't pick till 119. They got a minute to go, and guys are going to fly off the board. So it's hard. Like, I mean, even us were talking yesterday. Who do you look at and say, like, hey, who could we prep articles for like the announcement of the actual draft pick itself? And it's like, at this point in the draft, you just have no idea, you're not going to know until you get kind of close. I mean, the Steelers, you got to do like you got 19, 20 picks before the Steelers are on the board again. And it's really hard to sit here and say guys like Brendan Rice, guys like Troy Franklin, guys like TJ Tampa are going to be on the board when the Steelers pick. I mean, there are going to be Chris Abrams-Drain is a name that I think could fall to Pittsburgh. Kyrie Jackson is a name that I think could fall to Pittsburgh. I think that if they're thinking cornerback, maybe that's the way that they go. Kevin King out of Penn State could fall to Pittsburgh in the 4th round at 119. I think that makes some sense for a guy like that. It's just tough to imagine where they go. I think that positional wise, you could kind of key in and say cornerback is very high on their list right now. And I would agree with you. I think double dipping on wide receiver is like very realistic, especially with the names on the board. I mean, just to pull them up here, like, you got Troy Franklin, Brendan Rice, Javon Baker, Devontae Walker is still on the board. Johnny Wilson, Bub Means is still on the board. I mean, there's some names that, Taj Washington. Could you imagine if the Steelers just went all small dudes and George Pickens? There you go.
That'd be pretty funny. Yeah. The average height is still 6 foot, but it's because George Pickens is elevating everyone.
Yeah. Jefferson are just massive.
Yeah. So, I mean, now that I'm looking at this board a little bit more closely, I mean, I think corner is also super realistic. I think, like, honestly, might be a little bit more realistic. I mean, like, obviously Troy Franklin, if he's there, you got to take him. But, like, if it comes down to, Chris Abrams-Drain versus, like, Devontae Walker.
Oh, where you
going? I feel like I'm going Chris Abrams-Drain,
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, like, so I don't know. It always depends on who's there, obviously, but I think corner and receiver are the two ones that you've gotta watch the most closely. With 3 picks left, I feel like it's got to be corner, one more receiver, and defensive tackle. Kind of all your needs that you still got to fill out.
Look at, man, I'm just saying the name Joe Milton is still on the board here. The name Joe Milton is still on the board heading into day 3. How shocked would you be if they took a quarterback in the 6th round at this point?
Not at all. Not at all, really. I think Milton is probably going to be that guy. I think they need a 4th quarterback. But I think they're also thinking that someone comparable to Milton, someone who can be
Keaton Slovis.
There we go. Exactly. That'll make no one angry. I think it's not that they don't care about, picking a quarterback, but they just, like, need a 4th quarterback. I don't think they're going to I don't think they'll be devastated if Joe Milton is not there for them in the 6th round, but
Agreed.
I don't know if he is there with that last pick. I think they will be very, very tempted. If it's Milton versus whatever defensive tackle is there in the 6th round, I feel like you got to go Joe Milton there and just take your chances with the whatever undrafted defensive tackle or whatever that you could possibly get.
I agree. I think if I had to toss out some names to watch here on day 3, Johnny Wilson is a big one. I just think if the Steelers are going physical, why not get the 6'7" wide receiver who is as physical as it gets? Like, could you imagine Johnny Wilson, Roman Wilson? Oh, we got it. Never mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, no more Wilsons.
We're done with the Wilsons. Nope, can't happen. I could see Johnny Wilson. I could see Devontae Walker, I think, is a sneaky name to watch for the Steelers here, especially at 119. Just because, I mean, like, you sent Arthur Smith to North Carolina, and I'm imagine that there were a lot of names, and I would imagine that the fact that he's an alumni just kind of was like, hey, I'm at Duke, I'm just going to go to North Carolina too. But at the same time, like, if he's building his offense and he's going, Tez Walker is probably a 2nd or a 3rd round pick in next year's draft if he gets an opportunity to play a full season. Maybe he takes a shot at him out of North Carolina. Johnny Wilson's a big name to watch. Chris Abrams drain is my corner to watch. I just think that makes too much sense for the Steelers. That if he's there, like, I get the Kyrie Jackson thing, but I don't think Kyrie Jackson's got the initial this guy could start. Whereas, and I think Chris Abrams drain can as long as you put him in the slot.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think there's a pretty steep drop off from Abrams drain to Kyrie Jackson. It's like you said, starting caliber versus this guy's maybe a project. Maybe we gotta bring him along much more slowly. But yeah, Abrams drain. You think only in the slot is where he could start?
Just this year, just in 2020, in
Yeah,
2024.
yeah. I don't know. I think, yeah. I guess if you draft Abrams drain and you're laying out a starting lineup, you'd probably go with like Dante Jackson on the outside and Joey Porter, and then you're rolling
And
with
then
Abrams drain.
maybe, I mean, you could. I don't know. I don't know how Dante Jackson's never played like a full set of extended time in the slot. So I don't. I mean, maybe
Yeah,
he's only like 5'11", so
yeah.
I'm not going to say no, but I don't know. I think that at that point, and are you going to trust a 4th round pick to be your outside starter in week 1? You know what I mean? Lining up across from Jamar Chase, being like,
Oh,
awesome.
well, I
This is
mean, he's not covering Jamar Chase when they.
no
I
T
mean,
Higgins. You're right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you might be screwed either way, but yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't think you are. I think you're kind of if you're starting a 4th round rookie, I think you're counting on you know Deshaun Elliott and Minka being big helps over the top and everything like that.
Yes.
I think that's how you build your defense, but yeah, I don't know. I think Abrams drain gives you the best chance of starting in week 1. If it's that versus like I said, him versus Kyrie Jackson, like we're picking from a group of flawed players here. This is why they've all
Yes.
fallen to day 3. So I think saying that any of these guys is a surefire starter in week 1 is taking a big risk. But I think Abrams drain gives you the best chance of getting that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And people are tossing out Cam Hart a lot in here. I think Cam Hart's a good corner. I don't know how high he is on like I don't know how high Chris Abrams drain is on the Steelers draft board. I don't know if TJ Tampa's on the Steelers draft board. I don't know if Cam Hart is either. They all seem like Cam Hart's just a guy that if you had a 5th round pick, that's
Right.
it. You know what I mean? He's a really quality 5th round pick. 4th round pick might be a little early, but again, I think that's subjective. I think everybody's got their hey, I have this guy higher than this guy, and some people really like Cam Hart. Really like Cam Hart. All right, let's answer some questions here before I continue to get texts and hype myself up even more. I can't believe Payton Wilson's a steal, man. Can't believe it. I'm excited. The last text I got was call me after you're done. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's start here. What's the next pick? Corner, safety, or double dip at wide receiver? If you had to guess, where are you going? 119.
Ooh, man, at 119, I'm gonna go double dip at wide receiver. I think that's gonna be the move. I think they're gonna go for value at corner in the
Yeah.
6th round. I think they can find a slot guy in the 6th round. So I think they're gonna wait a little bit. They're gonna hold on corner. They're gonna target a guy like a Josh Newton at a TCU, and I think that's gonna end up being kind of the ideal pick, but I think they got to find a guy who can play wide receiver on the outside. So I'm going to go with receiver. I'm stick with my guns.
Dude, could you imagine Josh Newton in the 6th round's a steal? That's a great pick from in my head. That's a great pick. That guy, if you could go Josh Newton, even if you could double dip, go Josh Newton, Kalen King, and just say screw it. Like we're just going to be a bunch of short guys everywhere. This team is just built on short kings across the board. I'm not upset about it. I'm really even Troy Fatanu, like 6'2",
I was
in a
going to say,
league where 6'4" are offensive tackles.
yeah, from Fatanu to Russell Wilson to Jalen Warren to
Yep. Russell Wilson's
Dante
like 3
Jackson
feet
and
tall.
yeah, and Payton Will. Landon Roberts is short, dude.
Yes.
He is really good, but he is short, man. He is short.
He is short. I love when there are certain guys in locker rooms where you go and you talk to them and you're like those are the guys that like when people say like, hey, what's it like being in a locker room? You're like, oh, well, you're just surrounded by massive human beings, just ginormous. These are not actual humans. Can't believe they exist type of individuals. And then there's like a dozen of them who are The exact, like they look like you, but if you worked out every day and you're like, okay, I don't know how you did this, but you're here, you know? And Landon Roberts is definitely one of them. Russell Wilson's definitely shorter than me. Definitely. I don't know what he's listed at, but there's no chance he's 5'10. There's just no chance that guy's 5'10. Yeah. But I mean, look at, you could be 5'7 if you're as gifted as these guys. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
TJ Tampa or Troy Franklin at 119. If both of them are on the board, I think I already know your answer here, but where are you going?
Mr. Franklin, come on down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy like was a fringe first round pick. Like TJ Tampa's fine, but I think I don't know, at that point, if a guy like Franklin is falling to you, that's a first rounder falling to you in the fourth. Like, I don't think you could pass that up. I really don't think that's like possible. Like, I don't think that's possible. You know, like I don't think you think twice about it, to be quite honest. I mean, the value of adding Troy Franklin to your offense versus adding TJ Tampa to your defense, I feel like Troy Franklin has the ability to bring a lot more right away.
Yes, I'm going Troy Franklin. I think that he fits. I don't care about the scheme fit. At this point in the draft, you're taking the best player available. That is it. You just want guys who are going to work out. Troy Franklin it's not, oh, I hope he's going to work out. I'm going Troy Franklin. Here's a good one. Are you surprised the Steelers haven't traded up at all? I mean, we can answer that, but I also want to add to the end of this. Do you expect them to trade up on day 3? They don't have a 5th round pick. Could that be an option for them?
I mean, I thought they were going to trade up both of these days, and they didn't.
Yes.
So I am pretty surprised. I thought they were going to have to trade up to get Frazier. They didn't end up having to. I thought they were going to have to trade up and then I thought it would have been smart to trade up to get a receiver after that. And they didn't have to. So, I think my idea that they were going to trade up came from the fact that I thought guys that they would have wanted were going to just fall off the board so quickly. That really hasn't been the case. And so to be quite honest, I don't know. I'm gonna bet against not bet against myself, but I'm gonna go against my logic from the past 2 days. And say that they don't trade up in this round. I don't really see where it would make sense for them to trade up. I feel like
You
they
see
could
them trading
still,
up in the 5th.
not really. I don't know. I think the corner class is too. Like I said, if they go receiver first, like I think the corner class is deep enough that they can wait until the 6th round without having to give up that other 6th rounder, and they can still get someone who can conceivably fill a slot spot in the 6th round.
Yeah, I would say the only opportunity that I would look at for a trade up is the 5th round, and that depends on if somebody falls. Who that guy would be, I have no idea. Like at this point in the draft, it's not like, oh man, if this guy's still there in the 5th, you go get him. Like you're coming up with Isaiah Loudermilks that you're just like, they're like, oh, I can't believe he was on the board. It's like, well, I can't believe I've never heard of him. So that's who you're looking at here. I would say my expectations are 50-50 right now that they trade back into the 5th round. Outside of that, I don't see them making a move. I could see if one of their 6th round picks, they're looking somewhere else. But I could also see them saying, hey, look, we're going to hold out. We feel good about where we're at right now. We're going to use that extra 6th round pick to get a position that we just need depth at, or we just want to evaluate in a different way. Example, like, I don't know, maybe they test out a fullback, or maybe they go with another tight end or whatever. I could see them kind of looking there. Quarterback, obviously on the list there. I could see 50-50 shot right now. A little outside the box here. I don't see a lot of D-line talent left. Can the Steelers expect to take a step? Can the Steelers expect Keanu Benton to take a step and Cam to have a better year? I mean, Cam dealing with the injury last year, it's tough to say, last year was a bad year compared to an injury year. This year, it's even tougher to say at 35 years old, you're going to come back from that injury and be 100% and just as good as you once were. What are your expectations for both of those guys this year?
Yeah, I think Benton's going to be a star, and I think he's going to get closer to. I don't know if he's going to, be an All-Pro or anything next year, but I don't know. You listen to the coaches talk about him, and they think Benton, I think, is a superstar in the making. So
Yes.
I have really high expectations for Keanu Benton. I thought he was really good last year. I think he'll be even better this year. Hayward, I think more is going to be, or less is going to be more with Cam Hayward. I think the more that you can trust Keanu Benton, the less that you have to turn to a Cam Hayward. you can kind of get more out of his individual snaps the more that you play other guys, to be quite honest. So
Yep.
that's why I think resigning Montravius Adams was so important. I think keeping him healthy is really important as well. But to be quite honest, if you ask me to bet on it now, I think Keanu Benton's going to be their best defensive lineman by the time the season's over. So I have really high expectations for Keanu Benton. I think he's going to be really good, and I think you look at the D-line talent left in this draft. I think there still are some guys, but they're going to be kind of accessories to what Keanu Benton is leading up there.
Yeah, that's not even a bold prediction. Keanu Benton being the Steelers' best defensive lineman this year, outside of TJ Watt, you could and Alex Smith, you could label them however they're linebackers. The down 3 linemen, 100%. Like I fully agree with that. I think Keanu Benton's going to be a monster this year. I think by the end of the season, there's going to be like Pro Bowl talks of how good he could be or is for the Steelers. I expect him to move around a lot more. Yeah, my expectations for Keanu Benton are huge. My expectations for Cam Hayward are also bigger, but I think Dean Lowry is going to play a massive role this year in allowing Cam Hayward and Larry Ogunjobi to mesh into a 3-headed monster with Lowry that allows to keep those guys fresh, more active on the field, and just have a constant flow of successful veterans out there. Because last year you were like trying to plug and play Isaiah Loudermilk and Armand Watts and DeMarvin Leal once in a while, and it just wasn't working. Dean Lowry is a proven starter in this league. I have expectations all 3 of those guys are going to be just fine. Payton Wilson, also previous wrestling champion. Him and Zach Frazier, massive. Do you know Tyke Smith? I don't know Tyke Smith.
Tyke Smith. What position? So no, I guess. I'm not really sure. I've heard that name before.
Oh, he was drafted by the Buccaneers last night.
Oh, safety, right?
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I thought we were ending with a banger. I thought you'd know a little bit of something there. But Eric Rowe, is he going to get picked up at any point? Do you see him as an option for the Steelers before we head out of here?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe a depth piece. I feel like they like him. Actually, I take that back. I feel like he could. I don't think he's going to earn a ton of money on the open market. So I think he could be really affordable and a backup option for the Steelers. I would actually like that a lot. He was really good, really versatile, and I feel like a nice veteran to. I mean, he has corner experience too. So if you feel like you're not super confident with Dante Jackson or any of your backup options, I think that's a guy who I don't know, is he better than Patrick Peterson? I would say probably, but I think you still have the same concerns about an aging guy. What position is he actually going to play? But I wouldn't hate Eric Rowe on like a vet minimum to come in and, fill a couple holes for you, be a nice backup option. I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, just be your 4th safety. I agree 100% with Miles Killebrew being your just full-time special teamer, allow DeMonte KZ to be versatile. I don't hate it either. I agree with you. I think Eric Rowe right now is a better option for the Pittsburgh Steelers than Patrick Peterson. And I think Eric Rowe played better than Patrick Peterson at the end of the season last year. So I could see it, but I don't see him going. I don't know where he would go anywhere else. I think that's all we got. Do the Steelers get Tez Walker in the 4th round? I think that's an option for them. I think any wide receiver is an option for the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. With that, we're going to head back over to the South Side. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. We appreciate this one. Day 3 of the NFL Draft is coming live at allsteelers.com. We will have updates on here as well throughout the day. They currently have 3 more picks, 1 in the 4th, 2 in the 6th, and then they potentially wrap it up. But there's going to be plenty of action over the next 24 hours or so with the Steelers, adding guys, picking up undrafted free agents, just preparing their 90-man roster and their rookie minicamp roster for what is most likely rookie minicamp next weekend. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. We will be back on Monday. Enjoy the rest of the draft and enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.